So welcome back to Gypsy Medic. Today I'm going to do a review on my 2022 Lifan X-pect 200. I bought this in October. It was delivered to my house in New Hampshire. I bought it from a company called Arlington Power Sports down in Texas, and it got shipped straight to my house. It's a Chinese motorcycle, $2,700, delivered to my house, put together. Everything was on it, the wheels, the handlebars, all the controls, even the mirrors were on it. And it got delivered, like I said, straight to my house. A truck had a lift gate, lowered it down, put it on my trailer at the end of my driveway, and up the driveway I went. So let's just kind of take an overall look at what this bike is. It is an Enduro 200cc 4-stroke single cylinder on and off-road bike. It's a good looking bike. My impression of it when I first unwrapped it was a great looking bike. The plastics are pretty good. It's got a metal tank, 2.6 gallon tank. The engine is a Lifan 14 horsepower 200cc motor. The research I did on it said that it's basically the most used motor for people around the world who are looking to replace the motors in their motorcycles. I mean, this is Southeast Asia, Southwest Asia, Asia Minor, Asia Major. I mean, all the way up through into Russia, down to Thailand, right, all the way over to the Gulf. So it's a very well-known, very popular motor. The one thing you have to do with this bike when you first get it is you have to understand that the valves are going to need to be adjusted, and I've had a little trouble with that, just getting them correct, getting top dead center perfect, not in between what looks like top dead center but isn't, kind of off cycle. What I found is that when I didn't have that done right, I was spilling oil over into my air breather. Let me show you what that is. So coming out through this breather tube that's in back here into my air box, which is behind here, and dripping out through that air connector down onto my exhaust and then onto the ground, and it was pretty significant. Now I've got everything set. The only time I've had it happen the last couple of times out is if I was at top speed, in that 60 mile an hour range, which I think from what I've read is just kind of because it's still in the break-in stage, and it's still the rings and the valves are still kind of seating and sealing, and so it's building up a little more pressure. But when I ride it 50 miles an hour and under, I don't have a single issue with it. It's a 5-speed, 1 down, 4 up. The one thing that's a little weird with this compared to some of the other bikes I've had is that when you go down, it just keeps, there's no lock to it. Neutral's very easy to find. This is fuel injected, which is great. One of the things with the Chinese bikes, the Hawks for example, is that people are always rejetting them for ultimate kind of fuel economy. So they end up rejetting them so they run smoother, run better. And I didn't want to be messing with carburetors and jetting and whatnot. So that was part of why I liked, for the same money, I could get a fuel injected. It's got a little box right here for a toolbox. The seat isn't bad, but you'll see I've got a couple of seat cushions on it. Okay, so I've got this cushion, and then this one, this air hawk is off my Kawasaki Nomad. One of the other mods that I did to this is I took the rack off the back. In fact, I can show you the rack. So this is the little just plastic rack that goes on it. I pulled that off And I bought this Apache box at Harbor Freight for, I think it was 50 bucks. And as you can see, I keep stuff in it. My registration, my insurance paperwork, a trickle charger, an emergency rain suit, some oil just to be safe, some wrenches that I can do just a few things with. If I want to put a backpack on, you know, so that I can go someplace, my computer for work or whatever I can. And then it is waterproof and it's secure, so I've got a padlock for it so I can keep this locked up for the most part. The other thing I did is I put some Velcro on it, and I bought this seat cushion off of Amazon, and it wraps around a sissy bar, and so my lumbar spine goes right there, and it gives me some back support, which is great. This GoPro mount hooks in where the mirror is. The Spitfire windshield came off one of my other motorcycles. These are about 60 bucks also. I love it. It keeps the wind off my chest, keeps the wind out of my face. It hits right on top of the helmet so I don't get a lot of buffeting. Standard incandescent headlight, which people swap out for LEDs. The turn signals are LED. Phone holder. And then I put 2 eye bolts in the top of this Apache case. You can see it's an Apache 4800, and I just use a Molly type water bottle holder, and I throw a water bottle in there whenever I'm riding. Now, this thing starts up super easy. It also, as you can see, has a digital dashboard. Whoops, make sure I go down here. It's got a digital dash for the speedometer, although it's got a dial for the tachometer. Starts right up, super slick every time. You see it's got a gear indicator, it's got a odometer, 52.2 is the trip meter, and you can change the color with that button. It will lock. You can push that to close that to protect it from water and rain and all that good stuff. And then you just turn that to open it back up, that little wrench that's on there. I always add a watch so I know what time it is. The only other thing I did was I changed the handlebar grips. They were black, I wanted red because it's a red and black motorcycle. See my little Disney sticker? Those do light up. They are reflective. I made those on my Cricket. So it's electric start. It does have a kickstart to be safe. What are some of the other mods that guys do to this bike? They swap out the exhaust for something a little bit bigger, a little bit less back pressure, a little bit better sound. My understanding is it gets a little better power that way also. It's got a front disc brake and a rear drum brake. The rear drum on this bike squeaks. I'm going to change out the pads and put better pads on it. I pulled the drum once, and because it sounds like there's some dirt underneath the rear drum, or in the rear drum, but it didn't take care of it. So I think it's just cheap pads. So I'm going to exchange those out. But just the detail on this, you know, having the red striping on the rim, that's the way it comes, and the red caliper housing for the brake, front brake, is just great. I like this bike a lot. It does not have a center stand. They make one that you can add to it. One of the other things that people do on this is they change out the shift lever. This shift lever, they say it's hard to get a boot under, like a riding boot, because it's a little short and it's rigid. So if your bike falls over, they tend to bend or break. And so a lot of people put a Tusk shift lever on it. I wear a pair of steel-toed Rocky work boots when I ride this, and I don't have an issue shifting, getting in underneath it at all. It does have rear pegs for a rider, but you know, I think the payload on this is 250 pounds. You know, I'm 5'11", I weigh in just under 200, so I'm not taking a passenger with me anyways, and plus I have that case with the lumbar support on it. But I'm super comfortable on this bike. In fact, I just took it for a ride 2 days ago here in Central Florida. 75 miles, almost 80 miles, and I was gone 2.5 hours on it. It was all back roads, through some small towns. I'll include a little bit of footage with that, just to kind of show you. And I got off the bike 3 times. Once was I just got out and walked around. I was checking out a place, and twice I got out to make sure I wasn't leaking any of that oil, and it wasn't. It's been perfect. Other than that, I was super comfortable on it. You know, I was on it 2.5 hours. No problem. You know, at the end when I got off the bike, I might have been just a little stiff, but other than that, I felt great. You know, I've got a Nomad 1600 Kawasaki that's what I ride on long rides, you know, but it's a 950-pound motorcycle. I can bring this with me to Florida in my toy hauler. It's not a problem. One of the other things I did add is a charging cord so I can plug my phone in. What else? One of the complaints about these are the cheap Chinese tires. I don't know, I've got 500 miles on these tires, and you can still see some of that rubber kind of flange stuff right in the middle. So I think they're wearing well. They don't make a lot of noise. They're fairly smooth. I mean, certainly you can get some aggressive enduro tires that are going to be better off-road, but they're going to be rougher on the road. I've been very happy with these. I've been off-road with it. I've taken some dirt logging trails. I've been on dirt roads down here, and I've been on some basically hiking trails back at home this fall. And it's only 275 pounds, so you can throw this thing around super easy. Downside to owning this bike, nobody's going to work on it. You're going to have to be fairly comfortable having to do some things, which thanks to YouTube now you can find videos on how to adjust the brakes, how to change the sprocket. That's one of the big mods they do, and I did change the sprocket on this, the front sprocket. It's in behind this cover. It comes with a 15 tooth. People put a 17 tooth on, and you get a little bit more of a smoother ride at top end, which certainly did. They say this bike's good for 70 to 75 miles an hour. The most I'm seeing out of it is 62. I gained about 2 miles an hour when I did that sprocket change, but instead of being at 8,000 or 8,200 RPM, I'm doing it at about 72 to 7,300 RPM. So it's a lot more comfortable, a lot less vibration. In the bottom of the airbox is these 2 little drain hoses, drain tubes. So it's not uncommon to have a little bit of oil in that airbox coming back up from the motor. But this was, with the valves not adjusted properly, it was spitting out about a cup over 20 miles. So that's a significant amount of oil. Like I said, now I've done 2 rides with it, this 75 or 80 mile ride the other day, and 10 or 15 miles on the ride before that since my last adjustment. And again, not running it wide open, and I think I'm going to finish the break-in that way and see where it goes. Now, could you get a small backyard type motorcycle mechanic to work on this? I think probably, but you're not going to get your local Kawasaki dealer to work on it. It's just not going to do it. So what's the benefit to this? Well, certainly price. It was $2,300, $2,350 delivered, and that was with me having to put on tires, handlebars, things like that. I spent an extra $300, so I spent $2,750 for it, and it was completely put together. All it needed was the original oil change, because it comes with a really thin oil from the factory in China. Some people speculate it's basically just to keep the interior from rusting, but so I just put a good dyno type oil in it, and it's due to have another oil change here in about 50 miles, just because it's that first break-in oil period. So they say between 500 and 600 miles, do the next one. Am I happy with it? Yeah, I am. The other thing also that made buying this super easy was I didn't have to take any money out of pocket for it. Literally on their website, Pay Tomorrow is a financing company that does these bikes. I just said, oh, what the hell, let's do it. I put in an app for it, and almost immediately I had approval. It's a 1-year note, $700, 1-year note, $62 a week. So what? So that made it super easy also. And then 10 days later, it was at my house. The dealership itself, Arlington Power Sports, their communications wasn't the best. I had to call them a bunch of times to find out how things were progressing. The company they used to ship it with is a nationwide service. I don't remember their name. They were great. I could track it online. I called them. They said, oh yeah, it'll be there in 10 days. From Texas to New Hampshire, and it showed up 5 days later. So I was very happy with that. All told, would I buy this bike again? Yeah. Would I recommend this bike? Yeah, absolutely. I was really torn between this and a Hawk. The benefit to the Hawk is the fuel injected Hawk 250 it's a couple of horsepower more because it's a 250. But I could have bought it through Amazon with the Amazon protection that went with it. This Lifan, the dealers that were doing it through Amazon at the time were out of stock. Now you gotta remember, I bought this I ordered it in September of 21, right at the height of all the COVID shortages. So, right now, maybe you could go on Amazon and pick it up and do it through Amazon Pay. I don't know. But would I recommend this? Yeah. Other than this valve thing, and I'm 100% certain it's my fault. I've had zero problems with this bike. It's been sitting in my camper for 3 weeks. My camper's a toy hauler. I came back down to Florida. I backed it out of the toy hauler. I hit the start button, fired right up. There was not a millisecond hesitation. My 1600 Nomad Kawasaki doesn't do that. So, and they're both fuel injected, so, is this a bike that I would go do, moto touring on? No, I would not spend 2 or 3 days on this bike. It's a small bike. I am looking at a Kawasaki KLR 650 to do that sort of thing on, though. But as to a small bike to go spend a couple of hours on, or an hour, or just to go up behind my house in the woods, or to take an old dirt road, absolutely. I think it's a great bike, and I think it's a good learner's bike. The one thing I would say as far as learning how to ride this is just the fact that it is a tall bike. This seat is basically right up to my front pocket. And so, especially when I throw this box on it, it's a little bit harder to throw my leg over it. Certainly you don't have to add that box to it if you don't want. But it certainly makes it easy to haul stuff with. I can throw some groceries in there. I have a netting that I can hook here and here and here, for grocery bags, or like I said, for a backpack even. I do have a padlock, so I can lock this up. I threw some extra little reflective striping on it. But yeah, I've been super happy with it. Anyways, you got any thoughts, doubts, leave me a comment and I'll address them. If you got questions, I'll address it for you. You can find a ton of videos on these Chinese bikes. Lifan, Hawk, I can't even remember all the names of them right now. But I think that the history with Lifan being this very, very popular motor certainly swayed it for me in favor of the Lifan. Lifan, as a Chinese company, is well known throughout the, I'm going to call it third world, just for cars and trucks. I say third world because the US, Great Britain, France, Canada have a lot more safety rules with their vehicles. But Lifan cars and trucks are probably one of the most well known around the world. So that kind of helped lead me down that path, whereas Hawk has a very good reputation, but they don't have everything else behind it to kind of back them up, in my mind, as far as quality and construction. You know, is it a Kawasaki KLX 300? No, it's not. But that KLX 300 is going to run you a little over $6,000. This was $2,700. I do have a full 1-year warranty. Lifan US out of San Francisco, and I have called and talked to their customer service once, and they got right back to me within an hour, and it was a question about the valves and settings for them. So my one contact with Lifan US, I'm super happy with it, and they're the ones that would handle any warranty issue, not the dealership. So I have no doubt that if this thing, you know, shit the bed on me tomorrow and blew a piston through the side, I have no doubt that Lifan would make it right, because again, that's what I found about them, is that their customer service has been very good. So anyways, that's my X-pect, and that's X-pect 200. I did have stickers on here that said that. I took them off. Those are the only stickers I took off that I didn't like. You can see right here, X-pect. Oh, the other thing that was a pleasant surprise with this is it comes with a lithium battery. Lithium battery, it's laid on its side under the seat, because you can do that with lithium, so it takes up a lot less space. It's got a lot longer lifespan to it. It's got a standard spark plug on it. Let me see, I think it's an NGK. Yep, it's got an NGK DR8EA on it, and that is the plug that came in it. I did not replace that. Plastic on it is fairly sturdy. It gives it a good look. I did take all the plastic off, washed the tank, waxed it. Again, it takes 2.6 gallons, and I've kind of been back and forth putting 87 octane and 93 in it just to see which way, which seems to run best or give me better mileage. So far, I haven't really seen a difference. They say, the paperwork on it says it will do 70 to 75, and it will get 102 miles to the gallon. I'm getting a little over 60 miles top speed, and I'm getting 65 to 70 miles to the gallon. So I don't know where or why. I drive it like a little old lady, especially during the break-in period. So maybe after the break-in, the mileage will get a little better on it. I don't know. But 65, 70 miles a gallon is still very good to me. I'm fine with that. Anyways, thank you for spending some time with me talking about my X-pect 200. Again, if you got questions, leave it for me underneath. If you got comments, leave it for me underneath. I would also appreciate it if you would like the video and subscribe to my channel. Take care.